Hi, this is Shadows and Dust, and you're watching the best Gundam models period, where you see only the best painted models. Now, for my first review, I'm reviewing this guy here. His name is Adrax Agatone. He's from Games Workshop's Warhammer 40,000, and this is such a great model. The details are absolutely exquisite. I'll just hold him up to the camera here. Hopefully he'll focus. Come on. There we go. There we go. And look at the tubes, the different armor panels. Yeah, this is great. Scales in the back. This model came out just last week, and like a lot of Games Workshop's models, is very highly detailed. And it was a pleasure to put together. Everything went together easily. And the seam lines are mostly hidden within panel lines or covered with other pieces. But except here on the shoulder, if you look right there, there's a pretty nasty seam line that I probably should have puttied. Oh well, pro tip, it rubs the putty on its seams, or else it gets the hose again. Now, the way that I painted him is, most people will usually spray with a primer first, but I found that most of Citadel's base paints stick to the plastic just fine without any primer. So I started with an all-over base coat of Wa flesh. And then I shaded all over, making sure to get into those tiny recesses with Beal Tan green. To get the really bright green, I then layered over with Warpstone Glow. Now, Warpstone Glow is a pretty weak color. You're going to need several layers in order to get a nice bright green like I did here. Especially noticeable on his hip armor right there. If I can get it in on camera. There we go. Since Warpstone Glow is such a weak color that it needs several layers, it helps you get a smooth gradient of dark to light. So for that aspect, Warpstone Glow is a pretty nice paint. I then edge highlighted on his knees and different armor panels with moot green. For the black details, like the top of his head, his backpack, and the back of his cape, I put a base coat of Abaddon black, and then did some highlights with Skaven Blight Dinge, and did further thinner highlights with Storm Vermin Fur. Now, they're gray, but they have some brown in them. Now, I wanted to give this guy kind of a little bit of a dusty, dirty appearance on his cape, make it look aged. So I did that, and I did the same thing on his skin, on his head. For the scales on his cape, the grip on his hammer, and also for the purity seal on his leg. I base coated with corn red, and then I shaded with Nuln Oil. I then layered over with Wazdaka red, and then did some edge highlights with pink horror. For his hammer, I did pretty much the same thing, except instead of layering over with Wazdaka red, I dry brushed it. Now, on the back of the box, where it says what colors they use, it says to use Emperor's Children on the edge detail of the scales, but I thought that would look a little too bright, so I used some pink horror, and I think it turned out really well. Now, for the gold details on his armor panels, the trim on his armor panels, I base coated with Balthazar gold. I then shaded with Reichland Flesh Shade to get a nice warm gold. And for part of his hammer and also for part of his flamer there, I just left it at that stage. But for everything else, I highlighted with Liberator Gold. And you can even see on the flamer, towards the end of it, I did an edge highlight with Liberator Gold. And for the silver details, I base coated with Iron Hand Steel again to give him a little bit of a dusty appearance. Iron Hand Steel is a gunmetal color like Lead Belcher, but it has a little bit of brown in it. So Iron Hand Steel, and then I shade it all over with Known Oil. So for his cape, I base coated with Rakarth Flesh, and then I shaded with Adrax Earthshade and Seraphim Sepia before going back and brightening up some parts of it with Rakarth Flesh, and then for further highlighting with Screaming Skull. For the fire details and also for the lava, I base coated with Mephiston Red. I then did a thin layer of Wild Rider Red, and then did another thin layer of Troll Slayer Orange, another thin layer of Fire Dragon Bright before finishing it off with a thin layer of Uriel Yellow. And for the rocks on his base, I base coated with Abaddon Black, then dry brushed with Skaven Blight Dinge, and did a lighter dry brush of Storm Vermin Fur before calling him done. Now, when you're building this guy and painting him, you'll want to have some sub-assemblies. The way I did it was I had the base separate, I had his right arm separate, and also kept the backpack separate, but everything else I assembled. So, if you liked what you saw, be sure to hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time in episode 2, where I teach you how to paint Alpha Legion Chaos Space Marines. And it's all from the best Gundam models, period.